Yes, hello everyone and welcome to all our West Australian football fans to another edition of Around the WAFL, hot off the heels and absorbing round 7. 5 games to review for you today and of course looking ahead to the big state game this Sunday afternoon between South Australia and Western Australia at Optus Stadium. We'll also cast the Player of the Year votes. We're also live on socials, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and you can also check us out on YouTube as well and where you get your podcasts. Paul Persick with you in the studio alongside Ethan Rothy. Another big weekend of football, but now the league takes a bit of a diversion for the state game.
Round 7 in the bank, Paul, but yeah, big state game ahead on Sunday, so really looking forward to it. We finally beat those Crow Eaters.
Well, we'll preview that big game on Thursday from Optus Stadium. It's going to be a sensational encounter, but of course we're going to review all the round 7 action here on Around the WAFL, and here is how you can win big throughout the 2024 season.
Punt from 50, win. Little too into the game, win. Too cocky, almost a win. Risking it all for the glory, win. It's win-win at the WAFL. Great footy, food and entertainment. Find out more at waffle.com.au.
Yes, win-win at the WAFL. Huge marketing promotion for 2024 and plenty of great crowds around the WAFL this season. And in round 7, one of the big games saw East Fremantle take on East Perth in another terrific tussle. It went down to the wire, and good enough to join us is one of the Royal Stars, the one, the only, reigning Sandover medalist, Hamish Brayshaw. He's good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL. Hello, Hammer. How are you?
Morning, Paul, mate. I'm going well. How are you?
Going well. Great to have you on the show. It was a tight tussle all day over at Fremantle Oval, and it seems to me that you're finally able to close out really tight defensive games when in the past it was usually a bit of a goal for goal shootout. How much of a confidence boost is that?
Yeah, definitely. I think looking back on the last year or so, we've been in those positions a couple of times, and it does just turn into a shootout. We sort of we seem to buckle under that pressure, but to be able to absorb that, and I don't think there was a goal kick in the last sort of 17 minutes of the game. So to hold that 3-point lead and be able to come away with the 4 points was massive for our group and the belief that we've got going forward.
And your forward line, I mean, Tom Graham bobbed up with 4 goals. We've seen Tom Medhat do it several times this year. Talk us through the even contribution of your forward line this year, because it seems like on any given day, anyone can sort of contribute and come together for the team's success.
Yeah, definitely. We've got some dangerous forwards all over. I mean, Tom Graham, obviously coming back and kicking 4 is great for us. But I think even our younger guys like Darcy Craven's coming through and playing really good footy, and Santa Page was, he's come up from the twos and they had played a really, really good game. So then you've got the leadership of Christian Avajuri down there, and Tom Medhat, as he said before. So, we've got some weapons in our forward line that we sort of, it's good because we can get the ball into a contest and know we're more than likely than not going to get beat.
You, of course, came back into the side after missing the game against the West Coast Eagles, had the 19 possessions. Very impressive contribution for you and your side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still working into the season. I had a bit of an interrupted pre-season. Didn't really get back onto the park until 2 or 3 weeks before round 1. So sort of building into the season slowly. I've got some issues with a nerve pain going down my right leg. So that held me out of the West Coast game. But look, I'm sort of slowly working back into it, and the season's young, so there's plenty of time left. And to be 5-1 at this point is, I'm happy to miss a few more games if we can still keep winning.
And obviously the state game coming up. How do you guys look to, take upon the bye? Obviously some players will feature in that, but some won't. So how does the week look like for here with some playing and some not, from an East Perth point of view, with recovery and whatnot? Yeah,
the way the week looks, it's the state boys will go and we'll train with the state side. So there'll be a few of us that will have to head off and do that. But the rest of the boys will train. Well, we had a recovery and review last night. Then we'll train tonight and Thursday, and then have the weekend off. And with the way our season's been structured, really, we've had sort of 3 weeks bye, 3 weeks bye, and we've got that all the way up until I think another 2 byes. So we're in a relatively good spot where we can sort of build and then deload for that week while we've got the bye. So I think the recovery side of things is good, but building up to a massive next 3 games.
Your coach, Ross McQueen, has gotten a lot more out of the brigade of East Perth players, not just the experienced blokes like yourself, Crowden and company, but also the guys that are still blossoming in the East Perth side. Talk about Darcy Craven, who made his debut last week, kicked 4 goals. Also, obviously, Tom Medhat, Graham as well, to kick those 4 goals. Ross McQueen has really enhanced his reputation as a really strong coach who can really, get a lot out of a league side.
Yeah, certainly. We all know he could coach. He won six premierships with the Colts at Claremont, so he's got a good resume as it is. But I think the way that he's able to sort of galvanise a group, he brings a fresh look to coaching. He's currently a teacher, so he understands sort of how to communicate with the younger guys. And the senior guys sort of go about our business anyway. But the way that he's been able to sort of bring in these younger players and gel us all together, it's we really are just playing for one coach, and it's really good. So it's we're all really happy with how Roscoe's going, and the buy-in that he's got to our group and the culture has just been massive. So it's been a really big part of us being in the position we're in.
Now, you're one of the big media personalities in the WAFL. Of course, you play some great football on the field. Off the field, you do some great stuff with the media. How do you keep a good balance of that between your on-field duties with East Perth and off-field with the media and all your other commitments?
Yeah, it's tough. The good thing, I used to be a coach as well, so I used to have football everywhere. But now that second part of my football is just the media, and that's more than enough. So I love footy, which helps. So it's not too much overwhelming at the moment, but yeah, you still get plenty of time to relax, and you can go home after a training and put the feet up. But I love footy, which certainly makes it all easy.
Love the passion, Hammer. Terrific stuff. Your Royals are up and about at 5-1 after a thrilling win over the Sharks. Congratulations on the Royals form and on your form so far this season. All the very best in the next couple of weeks ahead of the rest of the season. Thanks for your time, Hammer, on the Round the Waffle. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Hammer.
Thanks very much.
That was Hammer Brayshaw, superstar of the East Perth Football Club, of course, making his return over the weekend. A steady 19 disposals, good contribution from him, supporting his fellow on-ballers. And obviously, with the leg issues that he has had this season, obviously, his absence in some games has given the opportunity for, younger players to step up. And I like that about him. He also has a really good eye for the young talent that he's looking to really make a name for themselves in the future, given his experience as a coach.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned the media commitments there and him, balancing it, because he is doing so much, but it doesn't seem to impact him on the field. So he really has that balance down pack, and been somewhat of an interrupted year, but the Royals are flying, so I think he'll be happy with that nonetheless.
Absolutely. 5-1 of the Royals and joint leaders of the WAFL League competition with Peel Thunder and South Fremantle. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to review all the games for Round 7. Now, let's get to the reviews of the games for Round 7, and we're going to start things off over at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. Of course, this was the early game, 1:15 on the Saturday afternoon. Subiaco and South Fremantle. Another close encounter, but South Fremantle, that jump in the first quarter really forced Subiaco to play catch-up football. Subiaco, while they were persistent in the last quarter, sadly they couldn't get it done, losing by 7 points, 12-7-79 to 10-12-72. 5 wins in a row now, South Fremantle. They are flying.
5 on the trot. Yeah, it's rare territory for them. Certainly not for a couple of years. So, yeah, really impressed with South Fremantle. Obviously a sad sort of time with the passing of Cam McCarthy.
A lot of emotion around that game.
But they really honoured him with a stirring win. The mix between youth and experience, it seems to be perfect. We harp on about this every week, but they've got so much. They've got the balance almost, perfect. Like there's enough young talent coming through, but there's still older guys, and then there's that guys in the middle age bracket. And Isaiah Winder, he's probably the form player of the comp at the moment. Surely has to feature in the state game. I'm sure we'll touch on that on Thursday, but it's just like, you can really see why he was at the next level for a number of years.
Absolutely. He's taken his game to another level. His last month, in fact, has gotten better and better. He's averaging 20 plus disposals a game, 13 marks to add to that in Saturday's win over Subiaco. His presence around the football has been absolutely terrific and can supply some valuable scoreboard pressure. He kicked a goal along with those 27 possessions, and, doesn't get a lot of talk as much in the footy landscape because, he flies amongst the likes of Tom Bletcher Bletchenden, Hayden Schloith, Drage, O'Hare, and even Glenn Byron down back. Winder does play a little bit in the defensive half as well. But I think what he has done for that South Fremantle side, he's really added that extra run and carry in that
Leg
midfield
speed,
whenever, a couple of players are down on form. The leg speed as well, absolutely pivotal for South Fremantle. And Isaiah Winder's got that in spades. He's had a terrific last month of football.
Yeah, and sometimes when you come to a new football club, it's exactly what you need. Fresh environment, new teammates, pressure might be off from the AFL selection point of view. So he's just really flourishing at the moment, enjoying his footy. And it seems like he's really enjoying it, as I said, and his teammates really love him from what I've heard.
Absolutely. They're more of a connected unit, so to speak, after what had been a tough year last year with injuries and obviously the 8-point penalty. The continuity of that side is looking far improved than what it was last year. Amongst the leading possession getters as well for South Fremantle, Tom Bletchenden, 27, Hayden Schloith with 23, kicked 2 goals in a nice little stint up forward as well. From Subiaco's side of the coin, we'd have to say that first quarter really let them down. The 6 goals to 3. They did persist in the second half. They played some really good tight football in the second half. They had 6 more inside 50s, but still lost the game. And that's another disappointing thing about it. If you get more repeated entries inside 50, but you can't get it done in front of goal, that's a major problem. Having said that, we talked about Jacob Everett last week, kicking his first goal on debut. He kicked a further 3. Could be a forward of the future.
Yeah, he's really come onto the scene, hasn't he, in recent weeks? Yeah, he's got a bundle of talent. He's probably just had to get, I guess, his off-field or professionalism a bit sorted and, really bide his time because, as we know, in recent years, you have to wait your time for a Subiaco League debut. But, we spoke to Liam Hickmott last week and they were chasing that 4-quarter effort. Unfortunately, it just didn't come this week on. They need to play 4 quarters. That first quarter probably hindered them. And as you know, you can only be 2% off in this competition and it'll come back to bite you. And it's a 7-point loss. You go back to that first quarter.
You always look
really
at that as that was the one that really cost them. You're absolutely right about that. Amongst the possession getters for Subiaco, Liam Hickmott, we spoke to him last week. Great game. He had 13 tackles. Greg Clark to go on to that, 12 as well. So the tackling presence is there for Subiaco. They were able to lock down South Fremantle, especially in that second quarter when they got a 3-goal-to-1 turnaround in that second term to really get themselves back into the game. I think it was all down to the likes of Hickmott and Clark, really putting their bodies on the line, putting their heads over the football. 25 tackles between them in that game. A very impressive effort by the 2 key mids.
Yeah, you can't fault their effort, and that's sort of leading by example, 2 of the senior mids. I suppose the other avenue of that is if they're getting a lot of tackles, while that's great, they're also getting second to the ball a lot. And I'm looking at the possessions. It's only about a 20 possession buffer, but at the end of the day, South Fremantle win that possession count. So, yeah, a bit of, inaccuracy said 10-12. So this game could have gone multiple different ways. We can say the ifs, the buts, the coulds, but South Fremantle ultimately got the chocolates on the day and deservingly so.
Absolutely. Their 5th win in a row, joint leaders at the top of the ladder. Winners over Subiaco by 7 points. Now, this too was another intense game. Swan Districts and Peel Thunder over at Steel Blue Oval in the 2-10 game. And I'll tell you what, it certainly lived up to the billing to an extent because it was a game of twists and turns. Peel Thunder 4 goals straight to 2 goals 2 in the first quarter. And then they only had 2 goals on the board further from their quarter-time score. Swan Districts, they again were persistent in that second quarter. They got repeat entries, but just couldn't get it done in front of goal. When you look at the score, 14-4 to 9-15, Peel looked a lot more polished in that forward line. That really, to me, was the difference in that game, was their polish in their forward line, their accuracy in front of goal, and their discipline.
Yeah, I thought the third quarter was massive for Peel. I think that's really where it was sort of won, that run of goals. So, yeah, again, like similar sort of theme. Swan Districts, that 4-quarter effort is what they're chasing. They definitely played some good patches of footy. Not taking away from Swan Districts, I think they'll take an amount of positives out of that. Your Clarks, your Rokers again stood out. The recruits come over and they've really taken no time to adapt. They're really playing the WAFL grounds well, and you wouldn't even notice they've come from another competition.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Talking about some of those leading players for the Thunder, Corey Wagner, 26 disposals. Neil Erasmus, again incredible, 38 touches, 11 marks, and also had the ball inside 57 times. So his impact when getting back into that side, he's been in and out of the Peel Thunder side and the Fremantle Dockers side. He's been the sub for Fremantle a couple of times, but when he gets into that Peel Thunder side, that's where he's playing the better football. That's just in my personal opinion because, you've got so much depth in that Fremantle side, despite the, obviously the result against Sydney. Of course, there were obviously factors involved in that. But whenever Neil Erasmus is back into that Peel Thunder side, either he's got something to prove to get back into the Dockers side, or he wants to be a part of some good success for Peel Thunder. He wants to be a valuable contributor every week.
To his credit, that's all he can do. You know what I mean. And it seems like there's been a bit of a knock on his game on his kicking or his efficiency, but that really stood up. I thought with his field kicking, obviously missed a goal, which you'd expect him to kick, but he's still a young player. I think we've got to remember this guy's getting close to 40 disposals each week in the WAFL, and he's 20 years of age.
Incredible. He's still a young man.
I know. People say he's a top 10 draft pick. That's what he should be doing, but. How many other players are doing that across the country, really?
Absolutely. And of course, with the alignment model, it's obviously very tough to get those opportunities after just one good game.
Yeah, it's the continuity would be a challenge, especially when he's going in and out each week, as we said. But yeah, he's been a revelation.
And think about this as well. To this game, Adam Reid, he was ill in the weekend, so he was ill, so he couldn't attend the game and commit to his usual duties. So Tendai Mzungu was afforded the opportunity, of course, former Fremantle and GWS player, to take on the leading role, and he did quite well, all things considered. So job well done to Tendai, of course, first win as a head coach in his first game, standing in for Adam Reid.
1 from 1, 100% win or loss record's not
if
bad.
That's his only game as league coach, then 100% record ain't too bad.
You'd almost not want to coach again to keep that record.
But great job by Tendai Mzungu, and well done to Peel Thunder. Swan Districts, again, it was their prominent on-ballers that were relied upon. Clark, Turner and Nick Rokar, of course, all in the state squad and obviously staking their claim to be in the final team. Nathan Blakely in the ruck was challenged and was overwhelmed against Liam Reedy, who had 51 hitouts. In turn, Nathan Blakely only had 14. A lot of their young players need to really lift their end of the bargain, so to speak, because I don't think there's as much continuity as previously slated in that Swan side. On paper, when you look at it, it's a hell of a side. It's got tremendous talent and tremendous commitment, but it isn't delivering on the field. It's not getting the necessary results it's after. They've only got 2 wins on the board. They're on the fringes of the 5-on percentage, but they need more convincing.
Those younger guys need to step up. You need guys in the reserves, but then you need guys in the league. So it's like they're trying to push them up, but then they need players to fill. So it is hard. Obviously won the Colts premiership 3 years ago. So, there's players from that coming through, like your Max Chippers, your Ben Hewitts, which is promising to see.
Ben Hewitt,
and they're doing
yes.
well in spades. But yeah, as you said, it's just that 4-quarter effort, which it's not just going to come overnight. Let's be real. But if the senior players can, rally around them, and that sort of thing in the forward line, like you can't really fault them. Lee Coleman, 3 goals again. Just the form forward of the competition, really.
Yeah, absolutely. The form forward getting plenty of goals on a consistent basis. I reckon he's that consistent link-up forward that Swan Districts desperately need after the loss of a couple of good forwards in the off-season.
Yeah, and even Jesse Glass-McCasker bobbing up with 2 goals. I think, probably needed to help Blakely a bit more on the ruck. But, what can you say there? You can't take away from his 2 goals. And he's probably more of a forward ruck who can, chop out when needed. He's a big frame, but they need him in the forward line to complement your Coleman. So.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Peel Thunder, however, getting the chocolates on this occasion by 19 points over Swan Districts at Steel Blue Oval and remaining at the head of the ladder. What about this game? Mineral Resources Park on the Saturday afternoon. Claremont, after half-time, showed no mercy. 8 goals to 1 second half when they only led by 12 points against Perth Demons at Lathlane on Saturday. 15-13, 103 to 6-10, 46. And I will say this, you can talk about your Bailey Rogers, your Ben Elliott, who had a very good return from a stint in concussion protocols, 27 disposals. But the player that I've enjoyed watching the most over at Claremont is Manguru Frederick. Not only, the numbers, they tell only half the story, 26 disposals, 5 marks, and 4 inside 50s. His impact at the contest, able to commit to himself, put his body on the line at the coalface. His desperation really is standing out amongst the pack. Coming over from Sturt in the Sandful, having his first season, I think he's having, definitely one of the best first seasons in WAFL in quite some time. There's a lot of players that can lay claim to that, but you have a look at Manguru Frederick's season so far. For a team that's only won 2 games so far, it's incredible.
Yeah, they've been crying out for that sort of player for a while, haven't they? And, we probably haven't spoken about him enough just because of, obviously, the disappointing Claremont's results, which they, hopefully for their sake have turned around from this moment forward. But yeah, he's been huge. Obviously has that AFL experience, Sandful experience, so offers some real leg speed. And I'd like to see him have a bit more midfield time as well. Inside mid, I know he's probably had bursts in there, but I feel like he could probably be a big-bodied midfielder.
Well, he did have more midfield time to an extent over there at Mineral Resources Park on Saturday. But what I like about him as well is his leg speed. Whenever he's got the ball, whenever he grasps it, he just puts on the afterburners, goes through the corridor and creates so much impact from midfield up and towards the forward half. He was absolutely terrific. And it was the first time this season that a lot of the younger players and the new players at the Claremont side really stood up. I mean, last week we mentioned that, they relied on Rogers and Bolton so many times to get the drive into attack and not delivering in front of goal. We saw that to a great extent. It's easy to say that because obviously with the opposition as well, but regardless of the quality of the opposition, if you get the job done and you're able to have your new and younger players stand up along with the experience, then you've accomplished something pretty good.
Yeah, guys like Colin Jackman in the forward line. I know you mentioned young players there. This is probably not a young player, so to speak, but Alex Manuel, I think he's a very underrated player. In years gone by, it's sort of been, your Watermans or your Bullers last year if they don't fire. But Alex Manuel, he's really 4 goals, and I know you love him as a commentator. He's just
he's one of my favourites.
Beauty to call. Yeah, he would be because he's just so reliable. He's been around for a while, but I think people probably starting to notice him more, or at least be talking about
his leading ability as well. His ability to get away from his opponent and offer a great lead inside the 50 is really terrific. Took some great marks in the 50. Of course, kicked a great left foot one off the ground in the last quarter. It was his afternoon, as I mentioned on the call. 4 goals, took some absolutely beautiful marks, 15 disposals, and even brought in the ball inside 55 times himself as well. So he had a bit of a stint further up the ground, and that's what I like about Manuel as well. His versatility in that forward half. He's got that ability to burst outside the 50 and really offer some great opportunities to his fellow forwards. As for Perth, we talked about this off the air, Ethan, and you're absolutely spot on. I think Perth still have those issues to kick a winning score. And think about this. After half-time, they were within 2 goals. They would only kick 1 more for the game. And that's the problem at the moment. They need to still string a resemblance of consistency. The only reason I did tip Perth was their record so far at home this season. Before this game, 2 wins and 1 loss. But the problem is they're still finding a resemblance of consistency in a 4-quarter game. That's their biggest problem.
Yeah, and I think, I actually don't even, blame you for tipping Perth, to be honest, because just the inconsistency of Claremont, you never know. And obviously they've made a fortress but at Mineral Resources Park. But Perth, you just struggle to see how they're going to kick a winning score, because if a Clark or a Quartermain gets shut down every week, it just seems at the moment like no one else is really putting their hand up. I think they have goal kicking mids, like Noah Catshot bobbed up with 2 goals, Kane Johnston, Baxter Phillip, these guys, but who are the really bona fide key forwards that are really taking it upon themselves? I feel like every team that wins a premiership at every level of football has a key forward, who, I'm not saying they need to kick a bag of 5 every week, but you look at the score sheet, it's pretty plain, isn't it?
6-10, yeah, it's pretty plain in sight that they need someone there to, really boost up the scoreboard pressure. I mean, when you look at the numbers here, from a goal-kicking point of view, Sam Stubbs kicked 2 behinds. Harry Quartermain, he had multiple opportunities in front of goal, but shanked a lot of them. He went on to end up with 2 goals, 3 for the game. Noah Cashard kicked 2 goals straight. He was the only effective goal kicker and only had the 8 disposals. In the midst of that, Charlie Thompson, another good game from him, 26 disposals. Schlensog, in good form after a couple of seasons with South Fremantle, 23 disposals. Trent Manzoni, former West Perth Premiership player, 26. Jack Cooley, good inside mid, played his role despite the scoreboard, 26 disposals. And Cooley, I reckon he and Reagan Clark as well. Reagan Clark, who was the only Perth representative in the state squad, I reckon Clark might have just done enough from an individual point of view to make his place in the final team.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you like to see a representation from all teams, as there is all 10 teams in the squad. But you mentioned, someone like Blake Schlensog there. Could he be trialled up forward? I know he's been a bit of a swingman in the past. That might be something they need to look at. But Sam Stubbs, what's happened to him? I know he's had injury, troubles this year, but he feels like he's dropped off dramatically in terms of the scoring. It was only last year that he was training with Freo and trying to get a spot in the AFL list, and now it just seems like he can't fire.
I think, they're trying to utilise him more as a midfielder, but that's not the way he usually plays. Yeah. I think he usually likes to be that vital swing forward, kicks big bags of goals and really provides that spark. I think they need to get him back into that forward line to bolster up the scoreboard and, really get him, maybe if they could get him as a goal-kicking mid, but, I don't think they're utilising him correctly at the moment. But it's still early in the season. The season's still young and still a lot of time to go.
I just don't know why you'd change a winning formula in terms of what he's been able to produce, you know what I mean, in past years. So, yeah, and I'm aware that he's not, your typical key forward height-wise. He's more mobile, more of a lead-up forward. But, then the minute they need answers, and I think the first thing that I'd be doing is chucking him down the forward line.
They certainly will, and they'll need to do that very, very quickly if the season is going to remain alive for the Demons. It certainly is for Claremont, winners by 57 points over the Demons. This game was an absolute beauty over at Fremantle Oval. East Fremantle taking on East Perth. East Perth just getting it done narrowly, 10-6 to 9-9 over there at Fremantle Oval. And just like that round 18 game at the WACA last year, it went right down to the wire. The final 20 minutes of that game were absolutely absorbing. A lot of contested football and a real struggle to get towards the goals. East Perth able to get that goal late in the quarter to seal the deal and get themselves 5-1 equal top of the ladder. But what a great game.
Yeah, confidence booster for them. I mean, I said last week that the winner of this game deserves to be premiership favourites, and I'm sticking with that. I think as the Royals, walk away with the 4 points at a ground they enjoy.
Yeah, good record over at
Fremantle Oval. So, yeah, it's almost like a home away from home for them.
Well, it's their second win over there. Of course, they beat South Fremantle back in round 1, so confidence would have been there after that round 1 win. But, have a look at the star players. Again, they fired Schumacher, 26 disposals, Crowden, 22. Tom North, one of his better games of the season, 26, and Angus Scott, another 25. It's that on-ball brigade that has really come into the fold for East Perth. I think that's one of the more standout areas of their game that shows why East Perth are worthy contenders for the finals.
Yeah, they bully teams on their day. Not to say they bullied East Fremantle by any stretch of the imagination, but when they're in there, they can be very hard to stop. And we mentioned with Hammer that contribution in the forward line. Unfortunately, Mitch Schofield probably going to miss.
He will miss the rest of the season. It's pretty likely after his injury.
Really unfortunate. I know I tipped him for the Bernie Naylor, which won't happen now. But Tom Graham, 4 goals. You mentioned Darcy Craven. Second gamer. These guys, it just seems like any given day you could always do a lucky dip and it could be any of the Royals forwards or any of their midfielders as well.
And they just keep kicking goals. I mean, when you talk about, the likes of Tommy Graham, who kicked 4 goals from only 5 disposals, he outplayed Matty Jupp, and he gets rarely outplayed in that back line for East Fremantle. But Tommy Graham did a wonderful job, and he got some good company in the form of Christian Amajuri, who kicked another 3 goals in that game. On the other side of the coin, I don't think East Fremantle will be hurt badly by the loss, but they know now that they've got to keep winning if they want to really enhance their claim for back-to-back premierships.
They do. They need to keep the wins on the board. We spoke about East Perth's midfield, but I think East Fremantle pretty much matched it with them. You look at the numbers, Milan Murdoch doing his thing. Had 24 disposals, 18 handballs, so really wanted to, use the disposal by hand a lot, only the 6 kicks. Tom Joyce, 33 disposals, Basketball, 27. And a guy I mentioned to you off air, Cody Leggett, only had the 9 touches, but really, really crucial 2 goals. 2 goals too, so not his most accurate day out. But
it was a tough day for goals, wasn't it, given the ideal conditions and obviously the morning rain that we had earlier. Obviously, it made the ground just a little bit slippery, but still the surface played very, very well. And so the day for forwards was a bit of a mixed bag for the teams, depending on who you're playing for. Not only Cody Leggett getting 2 goals, Thomas Bennett got 2, and Jared Jansen also got 2 for East Fremantle. Brent Teakle, 26, but still very effective. So no wonder East Fremantle were able to match East Perth in their midfield. And it was led once again by their dominant ruckman in Brent Teakle, 26 disposals, keeping an eye out for the mid-season draft. And also, of course, in the state squad, I reckon he and Ollie Eastland could be sharing ruck duties on Sunday.
Yeah, I really look forward to asking Cam Shepherd about that because there's 3 dominant ruckmen in the WAFL.
Oh, yeah.
You probably can't pay 3, so I think Teagle's putting his hand up to probably lead that brigade. But this was a game that went down to the wire as we expected. Royals, too good in the end, but I don't think East Fremantle lost any admirers by any means.
No, they didn't. They were able to match it in a lot of areas in the game, and they matched the tenacity and desperation of the Royals. And we said with Hammer earlier on in the show that they're able to close out games when it's scrappy, tight, contested, in contrast to what it usually is when it's like a shootout, goal for goal on what is an ideal day for football. So well done to East Perth, 5-1. Their depth firing. Ross McQueen once again solidifying his reputation as a coach that really wants the best out of his players and certainly got that. Winners by 3 points over the reigning premiers. And the final game of round 7, no surprise about it. West Perth gaining a huge chunk of percentage and delivering another hiding to the West Coast Eagles. 14 goals the margin. Good golly, it was another hiding that West Perth handed to the Eagles, 24-12 to 10-4. And the afternoon belonged to someone wearing number 37, Tyler Keitel.
Has there been a more reliable forward in the last decade in the WAFL other than Tyler Keitel? Let's be real. I mean, Ben Sokol's probably right up there with him, but he just does it time and time again.
Time and tested for Tyler Keitel. He's been absolutely magnificent. 6 goals too from 21 disposals. I mean, who kicks 6 goals and has 21 disposals? Not a lot of people on a consistent basis, but Tyler Keitel was able to get it done. But, for West Perth, they needed a big win like that. I mean, when you talk about the loss that they had the previous week, 113 points to Peel Thunder, the only way that they were going to respond is to deliver a hiding themselves. Even though, it's against the West Coast Eagles, fragmented, lack of continuity, plenty of players coming in and out, they needed to deliver a hiding, and West Perth did that regardless.
Yeah, the win to win, it's going to be really psychological, this win moving forward for them, given their recent struggles of late, a blowout, most notably against Peel Thunder. But yeah, they needed that. I think they had 14 goal kickers.
14 goal kickers, you're correct.
13 or 14 there. So, we mentioned Keitel, but, plenty of others, contributed in that facet. From the midfield, from the forward line, you look at Aaron Black, 2 goals, Connor Lynch, 2 goals, Sasha Kerner, who I think we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, probably really need to stand up, when your Keitels weren't firing.
He did.
And he did that.
12 marks as well. 12 marks and 25 disposals to go with the 4 goals. That was a real day out for him.
4 goals, 3. So could have a big bag if he kicks straight. But, nevertheless, you take 4.
Absolutely. And, of course, Shane Nelson, it was his birthday as well on that day, along with their PA, Frank Alvaro. Of course, shout out to them. Hope they had a wonderful Saturday and a great birthday present for him. Of course, getting a win and also 38 disposals as well, 4 marks. And again, his run and carry provided some great backup for the likes of Luke Meadows and Aaron Black, who provided that supply up forward. For the West Coast Eagles, Andrew Gaff, definitely one of his better games. Is he going to be pressing back for selection in the AFL squad? Who knows? 10 marks, 25 disposals. Jai Cully returning from injury. It's a very good return despite the final result. 25 disposals, 6 marks and 2 goals. That's a pretty good return for Cully. And, if he keeps going on that form, maybe AFL could become beckoning again.
Yeah, you'd think so. A couple of nice goals as well. Reading the pack for a left foot snap, the first one of those. So, West Coast, tough days, we sort of expected. But, they had some contributors, your Gaffs and your Cullies, as mentioned, even Harley Sparks, who we've mentioned several times before. But yeah, Shane Nelson, he's I think 31, like a fine wine, isn't he?
He's still playing
age.
like he's 18, yeah.
So,
He's absolutely incredible. I mean, one of the best and the most dominant midfielders in the competition, and just continues to rack them up.
Probably can feel a bit robbed for the state side as well, but I know that's, controversial with the whole, mid-season draft factor.
It's always going to be controversial.
Yeah.
State selection, mid-season draft selection, it's always going to get people talking. But Shane Nelson, as long as he keeps playing his best in the WAFL, I don't think we should worry. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what Nelson has done. West Perth, big winners, back on track after 2 losses, a 14-goal win over the West Coast Eagles. All right, Ethan, let's take a look at the ladder after round 7. Let's pop it up and we'll show you who is leading the competition. 3 teams equal on 20 points, and it's exactly the same as it was last week. Peel Thunder, East Perth and South Fremantle. Peel Thunder holding top spot on percentage. Then comes East Perth and South Fremantle in that order. West Perth back in the 5 after getting back on track with their 3rd win of the season. East Fremantle remain in the 5 despite the loss on 8 points. And then joining the Sharks on 8 points are Swan Districts, Claremont and Subiaco. Perth and the West Coast Eagles propping up the bottom of the ladder.
Yes, the big droppers for mine are Subiaco, 8th on the ladder. Wins. A lot of people predict them to be in the finals race, which, they still are. Still a long way to go, but grand final side predicted them before. So really needed to, for my sake, need to lift their game.
They certainly do. They've been a big surprise as far as their drop in form is concerned. 2 wins. Big improvers, I have to say, are South Fremantle. I mean, they have been absolutely impressive. 5 wins in a row so far this season and going into the state game break with maximum confidence. Okay, it's time now to cast the votes. One of my favourite points off the show, the casting of the Player of the Year votes. Now, there are a couple that are right back in it for the 2nd week in a row, so it's starting to take shape. The leaderboard, and we'll reveal that to you in a moment. 1 vote. Neil Erasmus of Peel Thunder, again, was terrific. Coming back into that Peel side and racking up the disposals, but also very efficient. Honourable mention, Liam Reedy. Stiff to miss out. 51 hit-outs. But, if I could have given half a vote to each, I could have done so. But
you could do it for a lot of players, couldn't you?
Absolutely, because, you've got to be winning your games if you want to be casting the votes. Neil Erasmus certainly provided a key role for that. He gets the 1 vote. 2 votes. Tyler Keitel, 6 goals, day out for him. But his follow-up, again, getting plenty of the football and dominating in that forward line was absolutely terrific. 3 votes, Mitch Crowden, again, continuing to be one of the more impressive on-ballers in that East Perth brigade. 3 votes. 4 votes, Margaroo Frederick. His best game so far this season, the impact that he created at the coalface was nothing short of impressive. And he's also back in the Player of the Year votes for the 2nd week in a row. But he's the top gun of round 7. 5 votes, Isaiah Winder of South Fremantle. I said it before and I'll say it again. His last month has been absolutely impressive.
Yeah, form player of the competition, as I said off the top.
Oh, yeah.
So that's reflected in our votes. And, Yeah, he could be a dark horse for the award as a total.
Could be. I reckon he could be polling some big votes in the early games of the season and really give those expected leaders a real big surprise. So Isaiah Winder, another massive game for him. He gets the 5 votes and the Top Gun plaudit for round 7. Where does that leave the leaderboard? Let's pop it up to reveal who holds the lead. It's still Bryn Teakle on 8. Isaiah Winder, he's polled in the last 2. He's jumped up to 2nd, along with Mitch Crowden on 7 votes. Then comes Hayden Schloith, Oliver Eastland, Jacob Blight, and John O'Marsh, along with Jacob Coniglio, each on 5 votes. And rounding out the top 10 is Mungaroo Frederick of Claremont and Jesse Turner of Swan Districts. 30 players have polled, Ethan, so it's an open competition at the moment. And as we said earlier, you got to be winning your games.
Yeah, and just looking at that podium, Teakle, Winder and Croydon, imagine that. Teakle down to Winder and Croydon in the state game for the podium, for the votes, and then hopefully in a WA jumper this weekend.
That'll be something else.
Introducing the WAFL Merch Shop, your ultimate destination for all things WAFL. From jerseys to scarves to caps, show your support for the WAFL in style. Grab exclusive merchandise now and gear up to cheer louder than ever before. Visit shop.wafl.com.au today and let your passion shine.
That does it for today's edition of Around the Waffle. We certainly hope you enjoyed it. Massive weekend of football in the books, and now we look forward to the state game. Both coaches are going to be joining us on Thursday, Cam Shepherd and Jade Rawlings from West Australia and South Australia, respectively. You can catch us on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also we are live on TikTok as well. Go to Around the Waffle on TikTok. Check out some great content over there. Ethan's doing a great job putting it all together for you all here in Western Australia and around the world. Ethan, I'll see you on Thursday.
Will do.
We look forward to your company on Thursday for a massive preview of the huge state game. Join us then.